in internet fulfillment. And I guess before I get on to that, just who am I and what's the business that I represent? Kite Packaging are a top 3 player in the UK in terms of packaging distribution. We have 8 sites around the country. We run by far and away the biggest internet fulfillment business in the packaging sector. So when it comes to internet fulfillment, that's an area that is my personal responsibility. And so I understand a fair amount about what goes on in that world. We have a specialist division that supplies machinery and systems. And we also have the only packaging compliance scheme run by a packaging company in the UK. So, before I get any further, the 3 golden rules of packaging. I guess the first question to ask is the cost of packaging important? And I guess when I look out here, who feels the cost of packaging is important? You really think the cost of packaging is important? I'm going to pick an example of somebody who's quite good in the world of online fulfillment. If you look, John Lewis are held up. They do great PR, a lot of people know about them. John Lewis did their first billion sales online last year. They spend, and I know because their packaging contract is out at the moment, about £6 million on packaging. So 6 million into a billion, less than 1%. Most of you will spend less than 1% of your turnover on packaging. And in truth, if you think about it, that's not really that great an expense. If I take 1 penny, 1% of a pound, I put it on the floor, I bend down and pick it up, that's 1%. If you have costs in your business greater than £18 an hour, it costs more than 1 penny to bend down and pick up the penny. Now, great businesses look after the penny, and I'm not advocating we shouldn't look after the pennies, but your spend on buying packaging, in truth, is not that important. It's what you do with the packaging that's really important. Packaging is not a big spend. So, golden rule number 1. The really important thing is, it's not about what the packaging costs, it's about does it do what your customer expects? Does your packaging look like that when it turns up? At the end of the day, if you deliver things that are broken, what's the point in buying packaging? Just open the window and throw it outside. It doesn't really matter. Lots and lots and lots of people deliver parcels every single day that look like that. And you know what? They say their packaging costs too much. They've lost the plot. At the end of the day, the most important thing in packaging is that it does what your customer expects. If it doesn't do what your customer expects, you've lost everything in it. Now, customer expectation can be broken down into 2 things. Is it broken? Number 1 rule, if it gets there broken, I'm sure it's not what your customer was expecting. But the second element to it is the value test. And when people talk about packaging, they often forget the value test. At the end of the day, you will spend as a business somewhere between 5 and 15% of your turnover on marketing. Okay? Remember I said to you, you'll spend less than 1% on packaging. The bit that you spend all the money on is actually marketing. And at the end of the day, if the packaging turns up and it hasn't done what your customer expects, all of that marketing costs, that 5 to 15% has been thrown away and lost. You look at the great marketing companies, the people who really understand. You look at watches. I was walking past over there was a lovely looking watch for sale for £8. Okay? If you go into a fancy high street retailer, they'll sell your watch for £12,000. Do you know the difference between the £8 watch and the £12,000 watch? Marketing. At the end of the day, you can buy a Dell computer for £300 or an Apple computer for £1,800. The box that a Dell comes in costs about £3 to make. That Apple box there costs about £5 to make. Apple makes a lot more money than Dell does. And it's about a customer experience. And give Steve Jobs his due, he was one of the first people to say that packaging is an experience. And it's really important to remember that, even in internet fulfillment, that packaging is an experience. It's a really rare opportunity. If you run an internet business, the packaging is a rare opportunity to have a relationship with the customer. I saw a seminar earlier on today, and they were talking about tracking visitors on the website and understanding what visitors on your website do. Think about what that customer experiences when your goods arrive. It horrifies me. You will see fashion retailers taking a £250 jacket and stuffing it into a plastic mailing sack and sending it out. What customer experience does that give? One of the ones that horrifies me is we have lots of customers who are internet fulfillment businesses. They're warehouse and logistics businesses. They call themselves 3PL. 3PLs nearly all work on cost-plus contracts. They will send your goods out in the cheapest box they can possibly ship it out in. At the end of the day, the packaging that you send out is a rare opportunity to have a relationship with the customer. Apple spend a fortune on their boxes. I mean, listen, we supply some packaging to Apple. They got fanatical about the little tiny hairs on the side of a plastic bag because it affected what they believed was a customer experience. And they're right. Customer experience is really, really important. Golden rule number one, the most important rule of all, make sure it meets and exceeds your customer's expectation. When somebody gets an iPhone, they all have fun sliding the box open. It's about the experience, okay? At the end of the day, when you put something in a pack, or you pay somebody else to put something in a pack and ship it to your customer, you are shipping two things. You're shipping a product that you want to get there safely, and you're shipping your brand. And at the end of the day, those will always be worth more than 1% of your turnover. Golden rule number two, pack velocity. Now, Steve Jobs may well have come up with the customer experience of packaging. I claim the rights to pack velocity. Everybody know who Jeff Bezos is? Man in the picture there. He runs a small internet retail business called Amazon. I actually think his wife's the really clever one, but he's a pretty smart guy in his own right. And he says that internet businesses are all about scale. And let's just take the simplest element of a fixed cost in a business, a building. Okay? In the UK, buildings are very expensive. Everywhere in the world, buildings are expensive. But in the UK, buildings are very expensive. And so it is all about how many packs you can get through a building in a set period of time. I'm just going to show you a really simple one that we did for a customer. This is a real one that we did for a customer recently. And if you look at cardboard box, I'm really sad. I don't know lots about cardboard boxes, but you can make lots and lots of different cardboard boxes that do the same job. There's lots of different designs. And what I've got up there is 4 different designs of cardboard box. They're all exactly the same size, made of the same board grade, just made on different machines in different ways. Okay, and there's lots of ways to look at it. And at the end of the day, the one that all the buyers in the world want to know about is the price of the cardboard box. And so if I just take the 50,000 quantity there, we start at 19.5p, and I think the most expensive one is 32.6p. And that's the price of the cardboard boxes. And so many buyers will make a decision, oh, I'll buy the cheap one. And the problem is they forget that packaging is a variable cost. You know, the truth is their big fixed cost is their building, and it's about how many they can get through their building. So what we did for this customer was we did a very simple time and motion study, and we looked at how long it took to use the boxes. And if you look, so we put in at £10 an hour, relatively optimistic cost for actually running a warehouse operative, but we put in £10 an hour, we looked at how long it took to pack them, and then we came down for the 50,000 quantity, what would be the true cost of using the boxes. And you now go across that the cheapest box to buy as a box is actually not particularly effective when you look at it in terms of adding time into the mix. And you come down to that this box here, the 0760, comes in at 25.8p. So the obvious answer, isn't it, is you buy that box. Unless, of course, you have a car park that looks like that. And it was really interesting. I was at an exhibition just recently, and somebody was talking about property, and they said it's really easy to see who's growing, because when you drive past their building, all their cars are parked on the pavement outside. And if you've got a business that's growing really quickly, I know it, the first thing you run out of is car parking spaces. So at the end of the day, if your car park looks like that, you actually should pay for the more expensive box, because you can get them done every 8 seconds. And the most important thing, the biggest cost you've got in this scenario, is the cost of your building and your car parks. So Pack velocity is truly key in it. You've got to think about the cost that you need to leverage through the business. So golden rule number one, make sure it does what it's supposed to. Make sure your customer's happy with it. Golden rule number two, make sure your packing is efficient in terms of your staff and your building. Golden rule number three, size matters. It's all about size. And what do I mean by it's all about size? Everybody remember last Christmas? Anybody who's in the world of internet fulfillment must know last Christmas. CityLink went bust on Christmas Eve, okay? With about 250,000 of John Lewis's parcels stuck in Coventry. Okay, if anybody didn't get a delivery from John Lewis at Christmas time, it was probably CityLink's fault. Anybody see the Telegraph 2 weeks ago? The Telegraph 2 weeks ago, UK Mail, who's probably the second largest parcel distributor in the UK, issued a profits warning, and their profits warning was based on the fact that they had underestimated the size of the packs that were going through their business. At the end of the day, when you run an internet business and you are shipping parcels to your customer, you pay for it by size, okay? Let's have a look, good old Mr. Bezos again. Amazon, 88.9 billion turnover in 2014. They spent 8.7 billion on transport costs. 10% of turnover spent on transport costs. We've done quite a lot of work looking at their business. They spend way less than 1% on packaging. They're spending 10% on transport costs and way less than 1% on packaging. At the end of the day, trucks everywhere in the world are limited on three things. Time, the time the driver can drive, weight, and volume. In internet businesses, they will always run out of volume before they run out of the other two. Okay, the size of the parcels you're putting on the truck will fill the truck faster than you will run out of time and faster than you will run out of weight capacity. A truck will carry 30 tons. You won't get 30 tons of parcels in the back of a truck before it runs out of space. So space is absolutely critical. How often have you had a parcel turn up that looks like that? That was actually a delivery from John Lewis. Okay? A little tiny postal tube surrounded by airbags in a box that was like 5 times the size it needed to be. 80% of parcels that are delivered have more void in them than they need. You do need void as part of packaging design because that's where you get your cushioning and your shock protection. But 80% of boxes have far too much of it. You need dunnage. And I'll often talk to customers about the fact you need dunnage. Dunnage stops things banging into themselves in a box and banging into the sides of a box. You do not need void fill. Okay? Void fill is just a waste of space. Here's one that I'm just going to show you. It's a couple of seconds of video. This is a machine that we've just started running out to customers. What this machine does is it does away with the need for void. There's lots of other systems out there on the market, but you've got to start thinking about getting rid of the void. What this machine does is it looks inside the box, looks what's inside the box, cuts down the box to the right height, and then it takes the waste board and folds them over to make the flaps on top of the box, and then seals the box shut. Customers who've been using this are getting a 50% reduction in outbound volume. Amazon, the world's most efficient internet business, is spending 10% on outbound transport. If you could take 50% out of your outbound transport, that'll be 5 times what you're spending on packaging. Okay? Cost of packaging is important, but it's not the most important thing. Only a fool ships fresh air. And so many people in the internet business ship fresh air. So there's 3 golden rules, 1 for free. Okay? The golden rule number 1, you've got to make sure it does what the customer expects. But the truth is, the others aren't all equal, and they change. If you look at it, and depends upon where you are in the scale and what's important to you, but if you're a sub 5 million turnover starting up, access to product, really important. You've got to be able to get the products. You probably haven't got the economies of scale to be able to get bespoke packaging made for you, so you need to look at standard products available. Quality of service is always important. Pack velocity, well, the truth is, you're probably a relatively small team, you're packing things yourself. By the time you get to be on a large, and you see that blue line runs through, The bigger you get, the more important pack velocity becomes, and the more important pack volume becomes. Once you're a really big player, the number one key is pack volume, the number two key is pack velocity. At the end of the day, if you guys, any of you out here, are turning over more than £5 million and quality of service and access to product is an issue for you, you're just buying off the wrong people. Okay, you should be getting awesome service once you're spending that level of spend. So it's all about, as your business evolves and your business changes, it's all about pack volume, pack velocity. Golden rules. Make sure it meets the customer's expectation. Pack velocity is key. Size really matters. And remember, the rules don't apply evenly. It's all about where you are in your evolution as a business.